Hi, and welcome to Moments of Magic. We're recording today uh, due to some scheduling conflicts, and we're thinking of shifting the format a bit to make it a little bit longer and a little bit more informative. We don't know what's going to happen today, but anything could happen. But there was we did a show this past weekend in Chicago that was very lovely, and we ran into many people who sort of lit us on fire in terms of creating something new. So I'm going to have Bob explain because he came up with it or it was shown to him, and it's pretty cool. Don't know if you're going to be able to see it on the screen, but I feel like you'll be able to feel it. So if you just want to focus in on the crystals while we're doing this process and see what you see, and put it in the comments if you're seeing things, because to me, it was really very interesting.
So there we were in Chicago. We were doing this show, and people were coming to the booth like they always do, and they ask you questions, and you try to answer them as best you can. And every once in a while, you'll run into somebody who's just, I mean, you can tell that they're really deeply interested in the questions that they're asking you. And there was this couple that came, and they were at the booth for quite a long time, and they were looking at all the rocks, and they were asking all kinds of like the usual questions, like what's in this, and what's it good for, and yada yada, and all that kind of stuff. And you just kind of answer along and have some fun. And then they came around to the end of the booth where the wands were, and there was this wand and that wand, and they were asking about, like, well, what are they for? And then you tell them they're for doing magic. And what does that mean? Well, that's the proper use of the proper force in the proper direction. And well, what does that mean? And you get involved in this conversation with them. And at one point, I showed them something like this, which is when you're doing it, just pretend that you were seeing somebody drumming from above, and then they go over there and hit the hi-hat, and they're doing this, and they're drumming. And there was this picture that I was telling them about of this drummer who was drumming, just drumming on a snare, and the shot was from way far above, and I was watching it, and I saw what he was doing. It looked like he was weaving stuff together. And I thought, well, that's one of the things that you can do with wands, is that you can pull in information, and you can weave it into something. Oh, there, it did it. See that? I don't know whether you can see this. This is point to point. And when you try to do this, just like kind of intentionally, nothing happens. It doesn't work. And you can't act. It's hard to see that it's just the points, and they're almost like stuck together, and they made a little sound when they went together. So that's what I was doing with them. I was showing them that, and then I gave it to the woman, and I said, just hold on to it. Let's see if we can get the points to go together, because it's like really difficult to do. And so this is what we did. And this is what happens.
You have to, it just...
Bring your hand there it is. And then they come together, and then you can move actually up and down,
and they stay together.
Together.
They're magnetized.
And this was kind of this was a hair-raising moment, because it was like, wow, this has never happened with complete strangers in a out there in the public with these kind of pointy wands. And so I did it again later in that same day with another person. This other kid came. He was probably real early 20s, and he was asking sort of the same set of questions. They said, well, let's try something. And so I did it with him. That's a strange way of putting it. We worked with the crystals together. And then much later in the day, I did it with Jean, and we both had the same kind of reaction to it, I thought. And so not only was it astounding, but it was kind of proof of of process, I think, that these things actually have an energetic component that is not, you can feel it and you can sort of see it, and you know that it has a function and an outcome.
And
Go ahead.
when we did this, you could feel actually motion coming between the two wands. I mean, as they're stuck together, and they were stuck together like a magnet, there was this generative. Um, I, I can't even describe it. You could almost hear it humming, and you could also feel the vibration of it. And it was quite spectacular. And my understanding in thinking about it later is that it's about, part of it is about regeneration of cells on the body, regeneration of even organs possibly, I don't know, regeneration of the earth if you're working with planetary or earth energies. And I feel like it can be, we're going to have to obviously play with it some, but it felt very regenerative, the energy that was passing between these two wands. And you can make almost like a field over a person or over a space, it seemed like.
And there's, there are a lot of things that we tried to do over the years that have to do with crystal surgery techniques, which is like opening up the etheric field. And there are a lot of things where you had to put the points together and they were all sliding around. So it was like really interesting. And now that we've done it, there's almost like a built-in mechanism for being able to do it. And so it was nice to be able to show that this can happen and that it has an effect. So this was, like for us, it was very much a moment of magic. And from that, we sort of determined, I think, that we would like to also add, a little bit more information as we go along about, a little more in depth about why we use stones. And they're not the only way to do what we're doing, but it's a way of having a physical presence to attach the energy to, so that you can actually see it and work with it, which I think is, because we're physical beings, it's important that we be able to do that, because there is the other manifestation of the etheric us that there actually is, which is the part that's eternal.
Yes.
If you will. And so we're going to explore this a little bit more, and we might have other sorts of demonstrations, or we might carry on a little bit more talking, and also I think it'd be nice to have, I thought it would be nice to have, talk about other than just one thing at a time.
So anyway, we'd love some feedback from you. And if you have questions or things that you'd like to see, we would love to hear from you, because really, this is why we're doing this, is the interaction with you guys. I mean, obviously we're recording this today, but for the most part, we'll be doing these live, and it's just more fun to do things with an exchange. So anyway, and if you see us on the road, down the road, whatever, we'll be in Michigan, not this weekend, but the next one. If you see us, let it help. We'll demonstrate this for you. It's pretty spectacular.
And don't hesitate to ask questions, because all the moments of magic that we have are almost always generated from some kind of question being asked.
And the learning
know,
that you
it's-
receive from the questions is that's how we learn. We learn from your questions.
And it pulls stuff out of you, or it pulls stuff out of the
Out of
ethers.
the Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes the whole process more alive. It's like life trying to live.
So that's our plan. We're excited about it, and we'll be bringing you some more information about
like-
stones.
What is this rock?
Yeah, we have a lot of rocks laying around. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you or experiencing you down the road. And thank you so much for this moment of magic.